we're going to spend the next couple minutes recognizing attention bouncing. Now, this might not sound very interesting, but this actually is a very important skill. And let's see if there's anything interesting to find. So let's sit on the couch, put in our earbuds, put down our phone, and let's look out the window at something where our attention naturally lands. And let's briefly look for the subject that supposedly has our name tag on it, the intuit observer that's looking at the object. As you look at the object in the focused center of the visual field, let's create an imaginary line to where you would likely find the subject looking at the object, the observer that is intuitively located behind the eyes on this side of the visual field. And as the imaginary line is followed back to, in some way, this side of the visual field, look for the witness to this scene. So let's continue with the visual field focused on the object. This exercise is meant to strengthen the ability how attention bounces in each moment. As we get going, if you're sitting on a couch, we're going to first preference the knees, located in the bottom of the visual scene in this exercise. But you'll soon notice that attention is actually all over the place in each moment. So let's start with the visual field focused on the object. Notice one new characteristic about the object. As you did that, did you notice that in fact, attention came to the focused area of the visual field? It is subtle at first, but here's what I mean. Attention is a distinct phenomenon in the conscious experience. It's a completely different entity from the phenomenon of where the visual field is focused. Believe it or not, the visual field could be focused on something, and attention could be in a completely different place. This might seem like an odd statement at first, but this will become more evident over time. We've all had the experience that while driving a car, there have been times where our eyes have been focused on the road, but we kind of wake up recognizing that we haven't really been paying attention as we were lost in thought for sometimes minutes, right? Here's why understanding the difference between the focused area of the visual field and the phenomenon of attention is so important. As the recognition of attention bouncing around the conscious experience is strengthened, there will be a more salient recognition of distractions, which are, by definition, attention getting stuck in thought. You'll also notice that attention can better preference non-thought aspects of experience, which I have personally found a better way to enjoy the moments of the day. So, let's learn more about attention. For the next couple minutes, keep the visual field focused on the object out there. My visual field is going to remain focused on the absolute tip of a tree branch. Now, what most people don't realize is that although the visual field is focused on that object, attention is continuing to bounce around the visual field. Probably 20 other things in the last few moments. It's also bounced to thoughts, sounds, and sensations too. People hate mindfulness because they call this distraction. And then attention lands on the feeling of frustration. And then tightness in the chest. And then thoughts of annoyance. Once there's a better recognition of what is actually going on in experience, mindfulness becomes better than any show on Netflix. Try this. As you keep the visual field focused on the object, notice a brand new characteristic about that object. Did you notice that there was a secondary kind of laser focus on that object? Kind of like saying you were definitely not distracted from that object, at least for a moment. That was attention bouncing to the focused area of the visual field. Now, as you are laser focused on that object, notice as attention momentarily bounces to the knees in the bottom of the visual field. Even though the visual field has remained focused on the object out there, was it recognized that the object momentarily lost its laser focus as attention bounced down and then returned? In the beginning, it's very subtle, but this is very important. Let's try it again. Let's pick a new object to focus the visual field on. And as you do that, recognize something about that object that wasn't initially noticed. Was there a sense that there was a significant subsequent preferencing of that object in the moment? That was the secondary addition of attention landing in the focused area of the visual field. That's an important recognition. Again, as the visual field remains focused on the object, recognize as attention bounces to the knees in the bottom of the visual field, and as attention returns to the object in the focused area of the visual field. It occurs with lightning speed. Was it recognized that the focused area of the visual field kind of lost its laser focus for a brief moment when attention bounced out of the focused area to the out of focus knees until attention returned? Some people might call this bouncing of attention distraction. I recognize it as the preference of the moment. If you noticed that very quick bouncing of attention to the knees, that the focused area of the visual field momentarily lost its laser focus until attention returned, then just sit here for a few moments with a new understanding that attention is actually constantly bouncing around the conscious experience to thoughts, sounds, and sensations too. Keep the visual field focused on the object, but recognize that it's not distraction from the object that is occurring right now, but rather attention is exploring this landscape of consciousness, preferencing different information in each moment. Our brain is presented with so much new information in each moment. And as you strengthen this ability to recognize what is being preferenced by attention, it becomes more and more obvious that our thoughts are some of the least interesting information for attention to stay on. A sunrise is better than any painting at the Met or Vatican Museum. The conscious landscape is recognized to present a continuous flow of information that is more interesting than any show on HBO or Netflix. See if you find anything interesting as attention bounces through this landscape.